Hello Internet, I am the hero of Julios once again with another Dungeons & Dragons video. So, you've got your players, you've got an epic quest for them, and you eventually have two armies going at it for the fate of the entire realm. However, your players don't want to fight 6,000 goblins or 4,000 soldiers or whatever you have coming at them in huge droves. So, let's try to back it up a little. Give your players the epicness of fighting in a giant battle with, one single boss monster and a couple minions, but still have the real feel of an entire horde of enemies surrounding them and fighting against, hopefully, another army going on at the same time, which would be a great excuse for why the entire army isn't focusing on the players. So, with that, these are four optional things you could do to allow your players to have the feel of an army without actually rolling 600 d20s to see if all of them miss. Number 1. Distant army attacks. These attacks are the arrows that come launching in from an enemy as your players are running towards the army itself. What you should do on this is roll a d6 or a d8 or a d10 or however what kind of dice you want to roll, but only damage your players for the 1s and 2s that these dice roll. That way you have the feeling of 1,000 arrows coming at them, but you don't have the risk of 6,000 damage hitting them. The reason I suggest D6s to begin with is because you can buy one of those nice little containers of D6s. You get the nice generic one that's only like $5, and that'll give you 36 D6s that you can roll simultaneously. There's only a 1 in 3 chance of actually doing any real damage, and the players still have the feel of arrows coming down on them without risking all of their HP on it. If you want to get a little more intimate and have the players actually fighting against these large hordes, consider the swarm mechanic, the kind you find on Swarm of Bats, Swarm of Quippers, Swarm of Insects. Regardless of the type of swarm, you can change any race, any monster, any opponent, any NPC into a swarm by allowing them to gain the swarm feature. This turns the normally medium-sized bandit into a large swarm or a huge swarm of bandits. Keep in mind that once a swarm hits half its HP, it starts dealing half its damage. You're rolling half as many dice. So, if you have a swarm of bandits coming at your players, the swarm of bandits gets around the player, and normally a bandit has about 11 HP, so we'll increase the swarm of bandits to maybe 55 HP. And I know that sounds like a lot, but we're talking a level 10 character fighting against 60 bandits trying to get him at once. The swarm of bandits can deal, 4d6 damage on a single hit, but they only have one action, so it's not as terrifying as it sounds. But once you get it down to half HP, in this case we'll round up and say 26, the swarm of bandits will only do 2d6. However you want to do this is up to you, but the swarm mechanic allows you to put 400 bandits on the battlefield, when in reality you're only using like 6 minis. Next up is the AoE attack. You're used to the wizard throwing fireball at anything you throw at him, so why not throw the fireball equivalent back at your players? If you have 20 bandits, and they all want to shoot at the party, instead of having the bandits pick and choose which one they're shooting at, have the bandits all fire blindly into the players. This will allow a big AoE, perhaps maybe like 20 feet, and in that AoE, the players will have to make a dexterity saving throw. You can base this dexterity off anything you want. I would use it off of the bandits plus for their dexterity, or whatever monster you're using. In this example, I would say a DC of 11 dexterity saving throw. They'll take half on a fail or half on a success, and then the full damage on a fail. The bandit's crossbow usually does a D8 of damage. There are 20 bandits, give or take, each bandit dealing its own damage. So for this case, we will slice the die in half. Instead, the bandits will deal a D4 per bandit to the players. Again, This isn't supposed to be for level appropriate players. This is supposed to be when 20 bandits are trying to take on a party of level 15 characters. Consider, mixing and matching how the hordes work, but allow this AoE effect to come down on the players as they're currently dealing with the true leader of the bandits, who you can give an inflated sense of HP to and allow him to maybe have an ability where he can use his reaction to pull up an iron cape that makes him immune to the AoE archery attack from his own minions. Finally, the king of the hobgoblins has decided to raid the human city with his army of goblins, bugbears, hobgoblins, maybe even a few ogres. Your players are powerful. Your players have Fireball. Your players have Ice Storm. Your players have a barbarian with no sense of what pain is supposed to feel like. But your players don't have numbers. And sometimes there are just too many of them. As a result, ticking damage. At the start of every round, choose a number, and make that number go down and down the more the goblins are destroyed. But there is just so many goblins that the area has become difficult terrain, and they take damage at the start of their turn just from all these goblins biting at their knees. The goblins are not strong enough to prevent the players from moving, but they're just covering up the landmass, and the players have to shuffle through them as if they were 5 feet of snow. If your players want to get creative, maybe like every player in the party is immune to ice and they want to cast Ice Storm, this will allow a temporary freedom of movement where all the goblins involved have died and there's a temporary space, but only allow this to last for a single round as the goblins flood right back in. This is supposed to be a never-ending onslaught, and until that big bad is dead, these guys are going to hurt them maybe 10, 15 damage every single turn. But hey, that's just one of many possible options. I'm just kind of spitballing here. I wrote these ideas on sticky notes while I was just at my computer, so let me know in the comments if you have ideas for horde mechanics, or if maybe I've just already said something someone else has done. Regardless though, thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.